मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी।
Well, my dear students, we are now back again. This is 36th lecture in the series of mechanics of metal forming now. So, if you recall, in the previous lecture we continued the one dimensional problem. We started with from the basic concept of finite element method. We took one example of the spring element, and then a complicated spring element, and then we also took examples of bar element. We derived the basic equations, finite element equation, and how we calculate the stiffness matrix basically. So, we would continue the same last problem that we started in lecture 35. So, 1D problem of bar element. So, if you recall, so this was the case, the problem where the two bar elements are connected in series, and at the junction 2 element where the two, no doubt the two bar elements diameters are different here. So, the element 1 and element 2. So, stiffness matrix was calculated last time, K1 and K2, if you recall. So, one can assemble this K1 and K2 which was last, it is again shown here, you can see is here. So, this is what the global equation, so that is EA by cap divided by L, and the elements are 2, minus 2, 0, minus 2, 3, minus 0, minus 1, U1, U2, U3, and this is what is equal to F1, F2, F3, the corresponding forces at the nodal forces. So, load and boundary conditions are, now if we see from the figure, the nodes, both ends are fixed. So, the displacements are 0 and therefore, U1 and U3s are 0, and F2, because the joint 2, the load is given as P in the direction of x. So, F2 is P, it is given. So, in that global equation, if you substitute the U3 as 0 and F2 as P, it looks like this. So, because the two elements are 0 in the displacement vector. So, the row 1 and column, the first row and column, and similarly the third row and column are deleted. So, one gets this equation, that is EA by L multiplied by the matrix L having one element as 3, U2, and this is equal to capital P. So, that means U2, the displacement U2 is determined as capital PL divided by 3 EA. That is the simple answer. And thus, the U1, U2 and U3, the displacement vectors become PL by 3 EA 0, 1, 0. So, that is the answer, and then the stresses in element 1 can also be calculated, like, so stresses means sigma 1 would be simply capital E epsilon 1, and that is E B1 U1, and that is equal to E minus 1 by L and U1 U2 as the vector, displacement vector. So, if you simplify this has been shown here, and it is equal to P by 3A. And similarly the stress in element 2 is calculated, that is sigma 2, that is nothing but capital E epsilon 2, that is the strain in 2 node 2, and that is simply the E and displacement vector capital B2 and U2, and that when you simplify the stress in element 2 sigma 2 is comes as minus P by 3A, which indicates that the bar is in compression because minus sign. So one can check the result. So the only thing is that to be noted that in this case the calculated stresses in element 1 and 2 are exact within the linear theory of a one dimensional bar structure. It will not help if one further divide the element 1 or 2 into smaller fine element, because it is the exact value has been taken. Secondly, for tapered bar, if the bar could have been tapered, this is the linear bar, round bar. So if it is tapered bar, so the averaged value of the cross sectional area should be used for the element. And thirdly, one need to find the displacement first in order to find the stresses, since we are using the displacement based finite element method, right. So you have to first find out the displacement and then calculate the stresses in the elements. So that's the few points are to be noted. And let us take another example of the bar here. Here the bar is one element, and let us determine the support reaction forces at the two ends of this bar which is shown. The data that is given here are the P load is acting at the center of the bar in x direction at node 2. So the P is 6 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 Newton. The material property E is given as 2 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 Newton per mm square. Cross sectional area is given as 250 mm square, and the length of that is the whole bar is given as 2L, and that's the L is 150 mm, and displacement is allowed displacement is 1.2 mm. So how to proceed? So one has to find out the support reaction forces at the two ends, that is the node 1 and 3. So as the problem, how to proceed? See the contact, the node 1 is fixed, node 3 is not fixed, there is a wall after. So the delta that it will delta is given as 1.2 mm gap. So how to proceed? How to find out the reaction? So one has to first check to see if or not the contact of the bar with the wall on the right side occur or not. This has to be seen. So how to see it? So to do this, one can imagine that the wall on the right is removed, and let us calculate the displacement of the right inside. So the displacement of the right inside can be calculated as capital PL by EA as usual. So using this data, it is calculated that it is 1.8 mm, and this 1.8 mm is more than the value which is given 1.2 mm. So that means the contact occur, and because the contact occur at this end, so there would be a reaction. So that means you have to, the global finite element equation is to be found. So let us find out for this situation, and that is how the node 1, 2 and 3 is created, right. So let us find the global finite element equation, and this is what is written here. So using the same previous the global format, so it is written as capital E by A L, and the stiffness matrix where all are assembled. Then there is a displacement vector u1, u2, u3, and the force vector F1, F2, F3. So the load is given in the problem, the boundary condition as the boundary condition F2, which is equal to P, and that is given in the problem as 6 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 Newton, right. Okay. And u1 is fixed, that is the element node 1 is fixed, so it is u1 is 0. u3, please remember u3 delta, it is given in 1.2 mm, right, it is given as 1.2 mm, that means u3 is 1.2 mm. So one can write down, one can substitute this boundary condition in the global equation, and that becomes here. So this is shown here. So this equation shows the set of 3 linear equations. So if you locate the second equation out of this, because so that second equation gives as EA by L, the stiffness, then it is 2 minus 1, and u2 by u2 and delta, and is equal to capital P matrix. That means it is EA by capital L to u2 multiplied by P plus EA by L delta. This is what had been shown here. So if it is solved, u2 displacement at the middle one is calculated as half of capital PL by EA plus delta, and that comes out to be 1.5 mm, right. And therefore the displacement vectors becomes u1, u2, u3, and it is equal to 0, 1.5 and 1.2 mm. That's we have got the displacement vector. So to calculate the support reaction, it is a kind of stress, that is the reaction force. Then one can apply the first and third equation in the global finite element method, which was previously. So if we apply the first equation, that gives F1, that is capital F1, force F1, which is equal to capital EA by L, 1 minus 1 0, and u1, u2, u3, and that gives EA by L minus u2, and that is minus 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 Newton. And the third equation gives F3, which is equal to EA by capital L, 0 minus 1 1, u1, u2, u3, and that is equal to capital EA by L minus u2 plus u3, and that is nothing but 1 multiplied by 10 to the power 4. So F3 comes out to be 1 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 Newton. So one can check the result, right. So one can check. So all these bar element we have taken, that is either it is the point load in the direction of the bar. Let us consider the distributed load. Most of the situation when it is distributed load means if the distributed load is Q per unit direction, that is along X. So here is the case of a distributed load on the bar element. So let us see, it is an interesting one. So again it is one element, I and J as the nodes, and Q is the distributed load. So if it is uniformly distributed axial load Q in Newton mm, or Newton meter, or pound per inch, this can be converted into two equivalent nodal forces of magnitude Q capital L by 2, when capital L is the length of the element, and one can verify this by considering the work done by the load Q, because work done is, as previously explained, it is integral over the domain from 0 to L, half of u q dx is equal to half of integral 0 1 and u zeta q L d zeta, and that is equal to q capital L by 2 integral over 0 to 1 u zeta d g zeta. So, once you now introduce the shape function, that is Ni and Nj, and the vector displacement vector. So, if you expand it, so we get the work done by the load Q as half of the displacement vector is ui uj multiplied by ql by 2 ql by 2. That is the last one you can see here, right. So, that means the work done in the element becomes half of UTF FE with the FE which is equal to QL by 2 QL by 2, and this is what has been shown in equation 22. Okay. That means from, if you recall back, the work done, the strain energy is equal to work done concept for the element, then one can write down that 1 by 2 ut ku, and that is equal to 1 by 2 f 1 by 2 ut f plus half of ut f e, that is equation 23, and that yields ku is equal to f plus f f. That is what is the equation 24. So, the new nodal force vector becomes your F plus F, and that is F1 Fi plus QL by 2 and Fj plus QL by 2. That is the equation 25. And if you assembly of the bar is taken, so one can see here the assembly of the bar, like it can be taken this, so far we did it taking as the element one element and having two nodes. The same thing can be done one element and three nodes, there is intermediate node, considering that now it is divided into two elements. So, then you have to assemble it for the element 1 and element 2, same bar, one bar but two element. So, it is shown here, one can see element node 1, node 2 and node 3, and the forces are QL by 2, QL by 2 at both end, and in between the force is QL if it is, right. So, that is the one can solve and check it again. Now, let us take, so far whatever we did, the element was aligned in one direction only, it was in one direction only, 1D, that is how. Suppose that this element is aligned in two directions, that is the bar when its elements are in 2 dimension and 3 dimension if it is, usual case is 3 dimension, right. So, let us take first the 2D. So, what basic simplification are to be done? So, this is what shows the 2D case of the bar, alright. So, this 2D case of the bar where the bar is inclined at an angle theta. So, the xy coordinate is there. So, angle theta is your x direction of the bar along the direction of the bar x, and 90 degree is y. So, the node I and j and theta is there. So, then ui and you can resolve the ui displacement is along bar, that is node ij. So, its component is ui and uj there. So, one can take Now because it is two dimensional problem, so the node I will have 2 degree of freedom, and similarly the node J has 2 degree of freedom. Okay. So then we say 2 degree of freedom, that is I, U, I and Vj, Vi, right, U, I and Vi, similarly Uj, Vj for the 2. Okay, this is clear. So as the coordinate system is shown here, so then one can now with respect to this, one can consider the local coordinate system and global coordinate system as far as the assembly is concerned. So in the local coordinate system, what we have variables? We have xy, and then the degree of freedom nodal is ui and vi, right. That is, there is 1 degree of freedom at the node. Okay. In case of global, you have capital X and capital Y, right, and the displacement are ui and vi, and there is 2 degree of freedom at a node, right. So lateral displacement, that is vi, does not contribute to the stretch of the bar within the linear theory. This has to be noted. So what we do here, what we require to do, so that the case becomes similar to the previous one. Now because you are taking into 2D and now you have a local frame and there is a global frame, so that means you must know the transformation from local to global. So the transformation is shown here. That means ui prime would be ui cos theta plus vi sin theta, and that is nothing but the vector Lm ui vi, and similarly vi prime is minus ui sin theta plus vi cos theta, and that is minus ml ui vi, that is the vector. So this transformation will simplify very clearly and will give a better result. So the same thing now it is converted in the equation number 26 as the matrix form. So in the matrix form it becomes then this transformation, that means ui prime vi prime as the displacement becomes Lm minus ml and ui vi, or in very simple manner it can be shown as a tensor form ui is equal to t u I, where the transformation T represents the transformation matrix, that is equal to the elements having Lm minus m and L. And please note that this transformation matrix is a orthogonal, that means T inverse is equal to T transpose, that the orthogonality, right. So for the 2 node of the bar element, one can assemble as shown here in 28. So for the, because it is 2 nodal, so if you apply the matrix form, so it becomes as ui prime, vi prime, uj prime and vj prime, that is equal to the transformation matrix multiplied by your ui vi and uj vj. That is what has been shown in 28. Or simply it can be shown that u prime is equal to tu, and that is transpose is in fact t bar 0 0 t. The nodal forces are transformed in the same way as the force, that is the F prime is equal to Tf, that is also has to be suffered, these forces. So again transformation comes into picture, and that what has been shown in figure equation 30 here. All right. So the stiffness matrix for the 2D case becomes, for the 2D space becomes, for this situation In the local coordinate system it becomes EA by L, as you remember, 1 minus 1 minus 1 1, and UI prime U 2 prime, and that is equal to Fi prime and Fj prime, right. So if we augment this equation, one can write down EA by capital L, and this stiffness matrix multiplied by the displacement matrix having the 2 degree of freedom as Ui prime, Vi prime, Uj prime, Vj prime, and that is equal to the force matrix, that is Fi prime 0, Fj prime 0, because the force is in only one direction. So R, one can simply write is as K prime U prime is equal to F prime, and if you use the transformation which is given in 29 and 30, one can find out that K prime Tu is equal to Tf, and if you multiply both sides by T transpose, and noticing that T transpose multiplied by T becomes in unity, so one can obtain as T transpose K Tu is equal to F, and thus the element stiffness matrix K in the global coordinate system can be written as, that means K is T transpose K T, that is shown in 32. Alright. So this transpose stiffness matrix K is a 4 by 4 symmetric matrix, because now 2 degree of freedom, right. And then this K in the explicit form can be written here, which is shown in equation 33. Alright. So K is EA by L, and that's a 4 by 4 matrix having the elements. On the top row, Ui, Vi, Uj, Vj, the corresponding displacement, nodal displacement has been marked. These elements are shown. So calculation of the directional cosines L and M can be done now easily. So L becomes your cos theta direction cosine, that is simply capital Xj minus Xi by capital L, and M is nothing but the sine theta, that is capital Yj minus Yi by capital L. That is the 34 equation. So that is the value of L, and if you substitute in the equation 33, you can get the whole set of stiffness matrix in terms of the local coordinate system and to the global coordinate system. So the structure of the bar element, the structure stiffness matrix is assembled by using the element stiffness matrix in the usual way, as we have already seen in 1D problem. So then likewise one can then calculate the element stress like sigma, which is equal to capital E epsilon, and that is capital EB U I Uj, and that is nothing but capital E minus 1 by L, and that is L M 0 0 0 0 L M, and Ui Vi Uj Vj, and that is your sigma is E by capital L minus M minus L minus M L M, and Ui Vi Uj Vj, and that is what has been shown in equation 35 here. Alright. So that's form the 2-dimensional case of the bar. Let us take an example here where the multi-point constants are shown of these bars. So these bars are connected, 3 bars rather, and it has a multi-point constant like the node 1, 2 and 3, and these are connected, these bars are connected in a triangular manner, right angle manner. So and there is a force acting on this, you can see this figure, node 1 the bar 3 is inclined at 45 degree. From the node 1, bar 1 is vertical, and from node 2 the bar 2 is horizontal, and the node 2 is a sliding, it's a sliding connection. So roller, we call it as a roller joint. So you notice the directions, that is at the roller joint there is a x and y local coordinate system, and the length of the element 1 is capital L, 2 and 3's are also equal to capital L. So the global coordinate system is attached at node 1 here. So x is horizontally and capital Y there. So now you look at here, the global coordinate system and global and local coordinate system both are attached here. So this is a case which is a plane stress, plane truss case. It is, in fact, it's a simple plane truss case. So the force P is given as 1000 kilonewton, capital L is given as 1 meter, capital E is given as 210 gigapascal. Cross sectional area of the element is 6 multiplied by 10 to the power of minus 4 m meter square, and for element 1 and 2, whereas for element 3 the cross sectional area is 6 under root 2 multiplied by 10 to the power minus 4 meter square. So let us find out the displacement and reaction forces. So now if you recall and if you have understood the derivation for previous derivation, where we derived the K stiffness matrix, so you can use it and then assemble here. So we have in this case an inclined roller at the node 3, which needs special attention in the finite element solution therefore, and we first assemble the global finite element equation for this particular case of truss, right. So let us take the element 1. So element 1, your theta is your 90 degree and L is 0 and M is 1. So because the direction cosines, okay. So you can find out the stiffness matrix K1 by this way. So the K1 is calculated as by using the equation previous, where the displacement are u1 v1 and u2 v2. So all those elements are written here. Similarly you write it for the element 2 when the theta is 0. So L is 1 and M is 0, and so you substitute the value in the stiffness matrix and you find the value of K2, which is shown here in Newton meter. And finally if you see the element 3 in the figure where theta is 45, so L is 1 by root 2 and M is also 1 by root 2. So K3 can also be obtained like here. So once we have calculated K1, K2 and K3, the 3 elemental stiffness, so then one can assemble to get the global finite element equation, right. Because it is symmetry, so you had it has been shown here. That means it is the global finite element equation is 1260 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 multiplied by this matrix stiffness, global stiffness matrix, multiplied by the displacement vector, that is u1 v1, u2 v3, u3 v3, and it is equal to the force vector, that is f1x, f1y, f2x, f2y and f3x, f3y. Other things are symmetric here. Alright. So, load and boundary conditions. Now, let us impose the load and boundary condition. So, if you look at the geometry of the given problem, the boundaries u1 and v1 is equal to v2 and that is all equal to 0, and v3 prime is also 0, okay, and f2x is equal to p which is given, and f1x is equal to 0. That if you see the load and boundary condition both, so the force boundary condition and the displacement boundary condition is like here, and if you use the transformation relationship and the boundary condition, then one can find out that is the v3 prime is equal to minus root 2 by 2, root 2 by 2, and the displacement vector is your u2 u3 v3, and that is nothing but root 3 by 2 minus u3 plus v3 is equal to 0, and that means u3 minus v3 is equal to 0, and that is a multi-point constant. That is how we call it as a multi-point constant. Similarly, we have a relationship for the force at node 3, that means f3 x prime, and that is root 3 by 2 root 3 by 2 f 3x and f3y, and that is equal to root 2 by 2 f3x plus f3y, and that is equal to 0, right. So, where the f3x plus f3y is equal to 0. So, applying the load and boundary condition in the structure finite element equation by deleting 1 and 2 and 4th row and column. So, one can get this equation. So, that is this equation. If we further do the multi-point constant and the force relation at the node 3, if you apply, the equation becomes this one, that means 1260 multiplied by 10 to the power 5, then the stiffness matrix part, and the displacement is u2, u3 and u3, and that is equal to force P f3x minus f3y, and which is 1260 multiplied by 10 to the power 5, 1 minus 1 minus 1 2 0 1, u2 u3 and p by 1 f2x minus f3x, okay. And likewise the third equation will get as f3x, which is equal to minus 1260 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 u3. So, if you substitute this values into the second equation and rearrange the whole thing, one can get this equation, which is 1260 multiplied by 10 to the power 5, 1 minus 1 minus 1 3, u2 u3 and p 0. So, if you solve this, one can obtain the displacement. So, u2 and u3 can be calculated, alright, and that gives the value here in meter, that is u2 is 0.01191 meter and u3 comes out to be 0.003968 meter. So, from the global finite element equation, one can then calculate the reaction forces. So reaction forces are the vector is your f1x, f1y, f2x, f2y, f2z, and if you use in the global equation, one can get all these values, right. So you can check the result. A general multi-point constant can also be described like it is the summation over j, aj uj is equal to 0. That is the general multi-point constant problem, where aj are the constants and uj's are the nodal displacement components. In fact, in finite element software such like your MSc Nastron, it uses only need to specify this relation to the software. The software will take care of everything, right. So that is the way one can have. And there are penalty approach for handling boundary conditions and multi constant multi-point constants as well. So that is the simple case. So for the bar element we took it the 2D case. Let us now again take the how we proceed for the 3D case for the same bar element, right. So just like we converted the bar element into local coordinate system and global coordinate system in 2D case, we here convert in the 3D case. So this bar element, now you have the each node will have 3 degree of freedom in case of 3D case, right. That means node I and node j, if it is indicated here. So it is now shown here the local coordinate system is now what is local coordinate system x, y, z, and then the displacement would be per node ui, vi and wi. That means 1 degree of freedom at the node, whereas in the global what is the transformation, coordinate system is capital X, capital Y, capital Z, and the global displacement are ui, vi and wi, and 3 degree of freedom at the node is there, right. So the element stiffness matrix are calculated in the local coordinate system and then transformed into the global coordinate system capital X, capital Y, capital Z, where they are assembled. Alright, same way we can follow. So if you recall the finite element analysis software package etc. will do this transformation automatically usually. So what would be the input data for this bar element? So the input data would be capital X, capital Y, Z for each node, capital E, that is the material property and cross sectional area for the each element you require, and then you can go ahead in the similar way as we did it here. Okay. Now let us go ahead with this slightly complicated case where we take the beam element. Let us take the simple plane beam element as shown here in figure, right. So a beam element is rather subjected to the node I and j, which is subjected to rotation as well as nodal rotation. So if this beam element, a simple plane beam element is taken and the length is capital L, if capital I is taken as the moment of inertia of the cross sectional area, capital E is taken as the elastic modulus, and Vx is taken as the deflection, that is the lateral displacement of the neutral axis. If now the neutral axis that passes through the neutral axis it is assumed that it does not deflect. So, as usual the rotation about the z axis if it is associated. So, theta would be taken as dV by dx, and the shear force can be taken capital F, which is Fx, and moment about z axis can be taken as mx, right. So, you see in the figure the x direction and y direction, there is a moment I at the node I and moment j mj at the jth, and theta I and theta j is also shown, and the corresponding displacement vi fi and vj fj is shown. So, keeping this in mind, and if you recall the elementary beam theory, as I told you, you must have a equation, you must have a partial difference PDE corresponding to the process of the problem. So, here the beam is taken as the beam theory. So, the elemental beam theory has got this equation as shown in equation 36. Alright. So, this is EI deva d square d2b by dx square, and that is the mx, the moment. This is the equation, and then the stress is calculated as my by I, that is in 37. So, if we use direct method here, using the result from the elementary beam theory to compute each column of the stiffness matrix. So, this figure what is shows the element stiffness equation there. So, one can see that this is what we calculate the stiffness distribution matrix, and that is EI by L cube and the element, the stiffness matrix, and then there is a displacement matrix consisting of displacement and rotation, and this is the force matrix vector, force vector including forces and moment. So, that is shown in 38. So, this is what is the elemental stiffness matrix for the local node ij R12 simply, right. So, as far as the formal approach is concerned, one can apply the formula 39 here. Alright. So, if you apply this formula as the for the stiffness matrix K, which is integral 0 to L Bt E I B dx. So, to derive this, let us introduce the shape function. So, we have to choose the 4 shape function, that is n1x, n2x, n3x and 4x. So, if it is taken the shape function as the cubic shape function, so it becomes n1x is 1 minus thrice x square by L square plus twice x cube by L cube, n2x is x minus 2x square by L plus x cube by L square, and then it is n3x is thrice x square by capital L square minus twice x cube by L cube, and then n4x is minus x square by capital L plus x cube by L square. That is what has been shown, these shape function in equation 40. You may choose a different shape function, no doubt, right. So, then one can represent the deflection as Vx is equal to capital Nu. Capital N is the shape function vector, vector of shape function, and u is the displacement vector. So this Vx is nothing but n1x, n2x, n3x, n4x, and that is your Vi theta I, Vj theta j. That is what has been shown in 41. So this is a cubic function. Notice that n1 plus n3 is equal to 1, n2 plus n3l plus n4 is equal to x, okay, which simplifies that the rigid body motion is represented by the assumed deformed shape of the beam. Alright. So that is the rigid body motion consideration. So one knows that the curvature of the beam is given as d2v by dx square, and that is nothing but d2 by dx square nu, and that is nothing but equal to capital Bu. That is what has been shown in equation 42, where the strain displacement matrix capital B is given by capital B is given by what? That is d2 by dx square capital N, that is the shape function vector, and that is nothing but n1 prime x, n2 prime x, n3 prime x, n4 prime x, and that is, if you calculate these primes, that is the derivatives, it becomes minus 6 by L square plus 12 by x L cube, and then this n2 prime x becomes minus 4 by L plus 6 x by L square, and n3 prime x becomes 6 by L square minus 12 by x L cube, and n4 prime x becomes minus 2 by L plus 6s L square. That is what is the equation 43. So strain energy stored in the beam element, if one is interested to find out, it can be calculated as the last explained. That means the strain energy, it would be equal to what? It is simply 1 by 2 over the integral of the domain sigma t multiplied by strain dV, and because it is a two-dimensional problem, so double integral will appear. See, it is a volume, so the volume, it is 2D problem, so double integral will be there. So that becomes simply 1 by 2, in first integral is 0 to L, and the second integral is your over the domain, and minus my by I transpose 1 by E m by my by I dA dx, and that is simply 1 by 2 over the integral 0 to L mt 1 by EI m tx is equal to 1 by 2 over the integral 0 to L deva 2v by deva x square transpose EI deva 2v by deva x square dx, and that is nothing but half of over the integral 0 to L capital Bu transpose EI, and then within bracket capital Bu dx, and that once you simplify, it becomes half of ut multiplied by over the integral 0 to L Bt EIB dx multiplied by u. So we therefore conclude that the stiffness matrix for the simple beam element is K. This K is integral 0 to L Bt EI B dx, that is the simple, and the values of Bt and all those things is shown here in equation 43, and E and I's are well known, so one can then find the stiffness matrix. So if you apply the result which has been shown here in equation 43, and if one carries out the integration, one can arrive at the same stiffness matrix which was earlier given in equation 38. So, combining the axial stiffness, that is the bar element, one can obtain the stiffness matrix of general two-dimensional beam element. So, the general two-dimensional beam element, the stiffness matrix becomes this one. So, this is what has been shown here. So, now you look at the top row, the elements corresponds to ui, vi, theta I, then uj, vj, theta j, right. So, these are shown here. So, this is in fact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is 6 by 6 matrix. So, this 3D case of the beam element becomes a stiffness matrix is 6 by 6, right. So, the 3D element beam element, the stiffness matrix is found in the local 2D coordinate system first, and then it is transformed into the global 3D coordinate system which is to be assembled. So, that is the way the procedure, the assembly procedure becomes the same. So, the important is to find out, to notice the K matrix, that is the stiffness matrix, and then you have the displacement vector, and then the force vector, and one can solve. So far we discuss 1D cases, but when we consider the element from the 2D and 3D consideration side. Now let us see some of the theories, basic theory concerning two-dimensional problems, right. And so let us see some of the reviews of the basic theory for the two-dimensional problem. In general, the stresses and strains in a structure consist of 6 components, right. What are those 6 components? That is sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, sigma x y, and if it is two dimensional, then tau x y, tau y z, and tau z x. These for stresses, and for strain it is epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, and then the shear component x y, y z, and z x for the strains. So, look at this figure, it is a cubic, and the direct stresses are sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, and the corresponding shear stresses on the faces are shown here. So, under certain conditions, the state of the stresses and strains can be simplified. A general 3-dimensional structure analysis can therefore be reduced to a 2-dimensional analysis here. Okay. So, this the 2-dimensional problem we would consider next time in the next lecture, that means lecture 37th lecture we would consider, and we would solve some, and we would take some examples based on the 2D cases, right. So, my purpose is to show you in very brief the finite element method, starting from the very concept, and then how would we use it for the metal forming. That is my purpose, alright. So, I will again ask you that you please practice these concepts, whatever we have discussed so far, at least you go through once, and please make your concept clear, so that we would certainly pick up the basic concept of finite element method, a popular for the metal forming, right. We would continue this up to around 38 to 39 lectures to build up, and we will take up some 3-dimensional metal forming problems. How do we solve using these concepts? And that is what I am going to prepare you people through this concept, so that we would be able to consider and understand the metal forming modeling using finite element method. So with this hope, I thank you once again, you all, for keeping so much patience, listening carefully, asking questions and all that. So but please don't forget to communicate me, give your feedback you on the through the net. There may be certain questions, objective questions, as well as to clarify, to make your knowledge and understanding, judging, etc. So you please check the, if it is questions, you please make yourself strong by solving. And I once again thank you all, thank you once again.